Game week 16, and I'm in the 100 club. Ooh yeah.
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.
Hello, and welcome on board flight episode 20 of Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. This is your captain and host speaking, Geoff at Willis, and each week I'll be taking flight to talk Fantasy Premier League football. You can find the show on a whole host of podcast services. Just search Captain's Pick. And on today's show, I'll be reviewing Game Week 16, talk transfers, and my captain's pick, and I'll finish off by previewing Game Week 17. Okay, so as usual, I'll go through my team and let you know where the points came from, and a little review of the fixtures in Game Week 16. So only one place to start this weekend, and that was the Bournemouth-Liverpool game. Liverpool winning that 4-0. Salah getting 3 goals, and that's where nearly half of my points came from. So I indeed kept Salah up until now, kept patient with him, and all week I was thinking of Aubameyang or Salah, but as I mentioned on the last podcast, that Salah being rested at the Burnley game a few days before meant that he was pretty much nailed on to start against Bournemouth, who had a leaky defence, and I wasn't sure if Aubameyang would be benched or not. So I captained Salah and had the vice captaincy on Aubameyang. Obviously Salah started and absolutely smashed it. Got me 42 points, which is superb. And if you listen to the last pod, I did mention that I thought he was a great choice and a big gut instinct that I had that he'd score a brace or a hat-trick. Insert clip now. He hasn't had a brace so far this season, and I can just see him picking up a brace or a hat-trick in this game. And that's why, at the moment, the captain's armband is on him. Not to rub it in, but it's great when something you predict like that comes off. And it's not like I've been saying Salah's going to score a hat-trick every single game week, because I don't think he's been in that type of form. But I say I did have a special feeling about him, and it was great when it paid off handsomely in this game week. Also in that match, I had Robertson, who got me 11 points. That was a clean sheet and assist and bonus points. Worked out so well having him and Alexander-Arnold over the last 4 or 5 game weeks. When one doesn't do so well, the other picks up the slack. But in general, they've both been doing well. In this game week, Alexander-Arnold was rested just before their Champions League game. But I still had that Liverpool coverage. So it's been a really nice move to have both of them there. So he dropped to the bench, but I'm more than happy to... That was the early game on the Saturday, and after just that game, I had 53 points. So it was always going to be a great weekend for me. Moving forward, and I'll get into transfers soon, my plan was always to transfer out Salah after this game week to Sterling, because I currently have no City coverage, but I will go into that, but made that decision harder because he's done so well. But the fact that he has done so well means that I've potentially got and captained the best game week he may have this season, but more on that later. The next match was Arsenal, who loads of people got in Aubameyang, including myself. Lots of people captained him, thought this was going to be sort of an easy win. Turned out it wasn't. Lacazette was benched at half-time. A lot of people went Lacazette over Aubameyang to save some money. Glad I went Aubameyang. I'm still happy to have him. Think they've still got good fixtures, and he seems to be nailed on as the number one striker. He at least got an assist, so I got 5 points from him in that game, and I still think they're going to get goals and points over the next few games because they've got some good fixtures. So still happy to have Aubameyang in the team for sure. Next up, Burnley beating Brighton 1-0. Didn't see this game. Good for Burnley, getting some points on the table. See, a few people got Brighton defenders, might have been looking at a clean sheet in that game. They would have been disappointed there, but I'm certainly not looking at any players from either of those sides. Cardiff beating Southampton 1-0. It's a massive result for Cardiff. I think that's 3 home wins in the last 4, so they've been doing excellent, certainly at home. I had Camarasa playing in this game because he was my first sub, so he came on for TAA. Just got me the appearance point and points and a clean sheet point, so 3 points from him. That's all I need from my bench, that they play, have potential to get points, so that's perfectly fine. So he came on for 3 points. Southampton really looking woeful at the moment. New manager, so we'll see how they do. But then next up they've got Arsenal, so it doesn't get any easier for them. Certainly wouldn't be looking at any Southampton assets at the moment. Man United beating Fulham 4-1. Did think this might be a little bit tighter than it was. Obviously Fulham still having pretty major defensive difficulties there. Man United coming out easy 4-1 winners. Rashford getting quite good points there. Could be a potential one for the watch list. Keep an eye on him. Man United got pretty decent fixtures, but as I said all season, very tough to have any certainty on Man United players in terms of form and in terms of whether they'll get selected or not. It's a real tricky one to try and pick a Man United player, I would say. Rashford potentially looking at the best target there, but I wouldn't be certain with that. Mitch Fitch notably subbed at half-time there. Fulham got a good few home games coming up. Maybe he was almost half-rested for that. He's going to be crucial for them. Camara actually getting a penalty and a goal in that match. Scored 2 in his last 2. Currently 4.3. Whether he continues getting the minutes or not, I don't know. But if he does, could be a good option as a third striker sort of on the bench. Next up, we have West Ham winning 3-2 against Crystal Palace. I had 2 players in this. Fabianski. I thought they might have got a clean sheet in this game. Palace haven't been great going forward. And even if you look at the goal scorers, MacArthur and Schlupp, just sort of midfielders, sort of not really attacking threats. So did think West Ham could get a clean sheet here. Slightly disappointed there. But one of my transfers I brought in, along with Aubameyang, Felipe Anderson, got me 12 points. He got a goal and an assist and bonus points, so 12 points coming from him. So that was 17 points overall coming from my 2 transfers, Aubameyang and Anderson. Arnautovic, he was injured, so he got 0. The sort of the troll of all trolls, Hazard. I did think he'd maybe get something in the Man City game. He actually ended up getting 2 assists. He got 9 points. So if you took the 17 points I got from the transfers, took the -4, that's a 13 points. So it's still 4 points better off there. But so still happy I made those changes. But I did think Hazard has the potential to do well. He could still hurt me, but you just can't have all these major assets. He may come back into my team in a few weeks if he starts to pick up good form. We'll just have to keep an eye on him. But very happy to have Anderson in my team. And say with West Ham's great fixtures, really happy with that transfer. As I just mentioned about Hazard, Chelsea winning 2-0 against City. Again, being a Chelsea supporter, this was an amazing result for us. Hazard getting the 2 assists, that's fine. Sometimes you never want the person you transfer out to do well in their next game week, but as I said, I don't mind being a Chelsea supporter, happy for him to do well. And obviously I had Alonso playing in this game, who a lot of people benched, so they missed out on his clean sheet points. A lot of people had him first sub, actually, and so he did get subbed in for a lot of people who had players who didn't playing. So a few people got away with that, but I started him. I think you have to start your premium assets in whatever position you have, even in hard games, because you're paying that amount of money for consistency, even in tough games. So I was happy I played him, and he got me the 6 points. I didn't have any City players in that game. Haven't had any since I transferred out Aguero a few weeks back when he was injured. So it's hurt me a little bit, but certainly not in the last game week. It didn't hurt me at all having City players, but going forward, that will hurt me not having City players. So, but I will address that when I talk about my transfers. And in the evening game on Saturday, Spurs winning 2-0. I had Harry Kane in this game. Did think he might get rested against Leicester. I think I spoke about on the pod last time round that if he did start, he'd get reduced minutes. When in fact he didn't start. I think he came on and got about 20 minutes. So thought that something like that may have happened. Out of the three players I talked about last week, Salah, Aubameyang and Kane, Salah and Aubameyang started, Kane didn't. Salah got the minutes and the goals and the points, so certainly out of those three, he was definitely the one to captain, so really happy with that decision. But Spurs going forward, great result for them in the new camp midweek. I expect Kane to start most matches, and I think that forward lineup of Kane and Aubameyang is really strong in terms of their form and their fixtures. Sunday's game was a bit of a roller coaster, certainly for us people who own Wolves players. The clean sheet went pretty quickly. Newcastle scored, and Wolves managing to it was 1-1 at the time. Last couple of minutes, getting no points from Doherty, and then he comes up and grabs a goal in the last dying seconds of the match. So he actually got me 7 points. That's excellent for me. Really happy. That's a few returns now. After that, he went 4 or 5 game weeks with nothing. He's returned in the last few, so I think he's a season keeper. He seems essential when they don't get clean sheets. He seems to get assists and goals, and I think the clean sheets will return. They've got some up and down fixtures coming up, but I think the clean sheets will return. So I just think it makes him essential. And then finally, the Monday night game, another cracker for me. Had Richarlison and Digne playing in this game. Richarlison getting me a goal, so excellent. He's providing good value for money, certainly over the last couple of weeks. And Dean was disappointed for them to concede. They actually conceded twice, Everton. And much like the Wolves game, it came down to the dying seconds where he scored an amazing free kick. So he got a goal, and he also then picked up 3 bonus points because of that. So he ended up on 10 points. So out on that last game of the game week, I ended up getting 17 points, which was superb. So happy with that, especially because now Everton go into a couple of dodgy games with City and Spurs, their next two. So glad to get a couple of hauls from those guys then. Notable in that match that Foster saved a penalty, so he actually ended the game on 9 points. So after Fabianski's penalty save a couple of weeks ago, who I transferred in for Foster, if you compare the two over the last few weeks, actually Foster's got a couple more points. But I'm just going to keep an eye on that. I certainly think with West Ham's fixtures over the next 7 or 8 game weeks, I think he definitely will outscore Foster. But it's certainly something for me to look at. And so that was my 11 players that I had playing. And that gave me an amazing game week score. I think this is my best game week score I've ever had when it's just been like a single game week, not a double game week. So I finished on 105 points I obviously did do 2 transfers, so minus 4 points there. So essentially 101 points. The average was 55, so I nearly doubled the average points. My game week rank, I'm pretty sure this is my best ever, of 14,085. It's unbelievable game week rank. Now this left me on overall points of 974. I had an overall rank of 70,024. So that was a jump of about 150,000 places from, I think it was 220 down to 70k. Superb. I was lost for words over the weekend, really. So happy to be inside the top 100k now. That's been my target all season. I was there for the first few weeks of the season and dropped out and went down to nearly 500,000. But back inside the 100k now. Had 2 good game weeks in a row now. This is what I was saying on the last podcast. I really needed to get a few good game weeks together to really put me inside that 100k, and that's happened. Fingers crossed now I can have another good game week to really cement my position, because the way the points are so tight and the places at the moment, if I had a dodgy game week now, I think I could lose like half of that back straight away. So looking for another good game week, and the way I've set my team up, my squad up, in terms of fixtures over the next 7-8 fixtures, I feel like my squad's got a lot of good fixtures coming up, and a lot of my players playing against weaker teams in the Premiership. So certainly think I could have another good few game week scores in a row. Well, that's the aim anyway. But game week 16 will definitely go down in the memory for sure as one of the best game weeks I've ever had. So was absolutely thrilled. Okay, so moving on to transfers. Now this is difficult because Alexander-Arnold picked up an injury. He's a doubt. I think he's down a 25% chance of playing. They've got Man United at home, Liverpool, so not the easiest of fixtures either. I'm looking at possible transfer options, and no one's really standing out to me. I could bring in a City defender. They've got a good few fixtures coming up where they could get clean sheets, but I just don't really like any of their assets. Laporte is the main one, but at 6.1, yeah, he may get you clean sheets. He's not going to provide anything else. So it might just be one that I keep Alexander-Arnold if he's out for 1 or 2 game weeks. Deal with the price losses because he's gone up in price anyway, so that's kind of negates that, and maybe he just sits on my bench for a couple of games. Not totally sure what to do with him. My plan, as I mentioned earlier, and I think I mentioned on the pod last week, was to bring in Sterling for Mo Salah. Obviously, Mo Salah scoring that amazing hat-trick, all those points. This is where I've got to try and split emotion out of this, and there was a reason why I wanted to do that. Now, was that the reason because Salah wasn't performing? He was doing pretty decent. Obviously, the hat-trick kind of maybe shows that the good form he's in, but he was against a Bournemouth side who do concede a lot of goals. And so, do I still bring in Sterling? Sterling played midweek in the Champions League. Does that mean he gets a rest on the weekend? I don't know. What I do know is Sterling's getting a higher ownership. I think there'll be a lot of people who captain Sterling as well this weekend. And I'm really trying to not lose with a lot of my selections. So I feel like I've got a lot of the major areas covered, a lot of the major players covered. And if I don't have Sterling, I think that could really hurt me. Salah could do well, but his fixtures aren't as good as Sterling's. And I think there's less matches coming up where you'd captain Salah. I think you'd more likely a captain Kane, Aubameyang and Sterling rather than Salah. So that's why I'm still looking at bringing in Sterling for Salah. Obviously frees up some cash, My other move that I potentially might make, and this will provide some joy for regular listeners, I'm sure, is that I may actually transfer out Richarlison again. I think that'd be the 4th time now. He's been getting me good points in the last few weeks. There's no reason really to get rid of him. Just the fact that he's got 2 game weeks coming up, City away and Spurs at home. Don't really fancy him in either. Potentially Spurs at home maybe, but after that he has a great run, so I would definitely be looking at bringing him back in. So is this a wasted transfer? I don't know, but with Mahrez not playing in the Champions League, he's got to be pretty much now to play this weekend. I do want some City coverage. I don't know who's going to play, so my initial thoughts were to bring in Sterling and Mahrez for Salah and Richarlison, and just have to deal with the TAA injury if he is out for a week or two. I'll just have to keep assessing that. So that's my potential transfer plan. It's a difficult one because there's potential of both Salah and Richarlison getting points. So I'd obviously be taking a -4 point hit as well. It's difficult. Do you change a plan that you were pretty secure on because a player's done well in one game week, like Salah? Is he going to score another hat-trick the next game after, especially because it's Man United away? Man United, it is at Anfield, but it's a difficult one. As you can hear, I'm pretty confused about this one. I definitely don't really know what I'm doing in terms of this transfer. I feel like I've got to go with City players. It's going to hurt. I got away with it really the last week or two, not having any City players. That's not going to continue. They are an amazing team and they score lots of goals. Again, you can never tell who Pep's going to play, and that's, I think, the reason why I'm thinking of bringing Sterling and Mahrez in. So I'm at least, well, you would have thought I'm getting at least one player there. And they've got some good fixtures coming up. So that's a rough plan of transfers. This could go down to the wire. I may just make these Saturday morning. I might even wait until I think the deadline's 11:30 Saturday morning. I may even wait till 11:29 just to see if there's any tweets come out of City with early team news, because they are the early game. And if Sterling and Mahrez both start, then I'd definitely transfer in. It's a little bit high risk there. Pep's managers press conference is coming up this afternoon, so maybe we'll find out a little bit more then that might influence those transfers. But that is what I'm looking at the moment. In terms of my captain's pick, the armband is currently on Harry Kane, who's got Burnley at home. It's been on him straight away. As soon as the last game week finished, it was on him. Not really considered anyone else. Aubameyang away to Southampton, good option, but I'm always going to go with a home player there. Obviously, I wouldn't captain Salah, who's got Man United at home. If I brought Sterling in, he's a good option. They've got Everton at home, but again, there's always that risk of rotation. I'd probably put potentially the vice captaincy on Sterling, but at the moment the vice captaincy is on Aubameyang, who I think will start because he didn't play during their Europa League game, Arsenal, midweek. And I think Kane's just going to start so many games. He's had his rest. I can certainly see him playing. He could play him out every game over Christmas. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's, I think pretty much nailed on captaincy for Kane, Burnley at home this game week. And so how my team is setting up, I've got Fabianski in goal. West Ham have got Fulham away. Fulham defensively not that great at all. So I have Felipe Anderson in midfield as well there for West Ham. Mitrovic is dangerous, so I certainly wouldn't count on a clean sheet here. I think it's a possibility, but no me's certain, but Felipe Anderson could definitely bring me attacking returns in that game. I will be keeping an eye on Mitch Fitch, see how he does in that game. Then my currently playing a back five which has TAA in it, and so Liverpool at home to Man United. Obviously starting Robertson, currently has Salah, but as I mentioned earlier, that he may be coming out for Sterling. In defence also I have Alonso. Chelsea have got Brighton away. I'm slightly fearful of not having Hazard. I think looks like he might be turning into a good little spell. Chelsea's fixtures are pretty decent, so again, just have to keep a close eye on these premium assets you don't have, and just hope you pick them at the right time when they go get on fire, like I did with Salah last game week. So we'll be looking for attacking returns from Alonso as well. Been a little bit quiet on that front, picking up clean sheets, which is good, but be nice to get one of his big hauls again. Doherty, who've got Bournemouth. Wolves got Bournemouth at home. Again, Bournemouth shipping goals. Pretty decent offensively, Bournemouth, and Callum Wilson may be back for this game week. So again, not 100% sure of a clean sheet there. I think it's a good possibility, but you can't discount Doherty from getting attacking returns in that match. And then currently I'm starting Dean for Everton, who have got their away to Man City. Can't see a clean sheet here, to be honest. And if I'm bringing in Sterling, I don't want a clean sheet. Certainly if I bring in Sterling and Mahrez. But as you saw from that free kick from Dean last game week, got a great free kick on him. He's on set pieces. Man City might be a little bit vulnerable from corners and set pieces, as Chelsea showed with that Luiz goal last week. So he'll probably start for me, I would say. And in the midfield, currently, as I mentioned, Felipe Anderson with Salah, but he may be going out. And Richarlison, who again, City away, I don't see him scoring. But you never know, been a little bit leaky City the last few game weeks. But there's less chance of him doing well. But if I make those two transfers, that midfield three could be Sterling, Mahrez and Felipe Anderson, which I think out of the three I've got currently in that three, I think those transfers would probably outscore my three that I've got in my team at the moment. And then up front, Harry Kane, Burnley home, captain, and Aubameyang away, Southampton, vice-captain. And that's how my squad lining up for this game week 17. Some other notable games playing it in this game week. I would just keep an eye on that Palace-Leicester game. Palace obviously getting a couple of goals against West Ham. We'll see if those attacking returns continue, especially at home. Leicester have been sort of mid-table, doing pretty decent. See how they do in that game. See if Maddison delivers anything. And I think another one to keep an eye on, Watford at home to Cardiff. I've currently got success from Watford as my first sub. So if TAA doesn't play, he'll come on. He's been playing pretty much every game at the moment. Cardiff haven't been great at the back, certainly away from home. Haven't scored many goals either. So it could be some success in that game. So that's why I've left him as first sub. In that game I also have Camarasa. He's my second sub. And so that's how my list subs are lining up for this game week. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to land the show. A reminder that the game week 17 deadline is Saturday, 11:30 in the morning. That's this Saturday, 11:30 a.m. A little reminder to anyone who's listening to this pod Friday afternoon, early evening Friday, if you find yourself in London and fancy meeting up with some other FPL managers and FPL podcasters and YouTubers and live streamers like myself. There is an FPL London Christmas meetup organised by a few of the lads and podcasters, the Who Got the Assist boys, helping to organise this, and it starts at 7 p.m. tonight. I'm recording this on Friday at the Marylebone Sports Bar and Grill. Do let them know Who Got the Assist on Twitter. Do let them know if you're going to turn up, just for numbers, but it'd be great to see anyone there. I'll be going with a potentially Christmas jumper on, and it'd be good to see everyone and who I met at the last FPL meetup. So if you're into FPL and want to meet a few of the podcasters and some other FPL managers and have a couple of drinks, then I highly recommend trying to make it tonight, and hopefully I'll maybe see a few listeners as well. And you can find me tweeting FPL Gold on the podcast Twitter account at Captain's Pick Pod. Feel free to send in any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show. Thanks for listening to this in-flight podcast. I have been your captain. Good luck with game week 17, and until next time, it's been my pleasure to talk with you.
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.